All right, let's get right into it. Today, we are talking about three massive, game-changing shifts that are happening all at once in the vertical software world thanks to AI. And look, if you're in this industry, what's going on right now is, well, it's both the biggest opportunity you've ever seen and, frankly, an existential threat.
So let's just start with the central, kind of mind-bending problem. For decades, the math was simple, right? More employees at your customer's company meant more seats, and more seats meant more money for you. But AI completely flips that upside down. Just read the quote. The better your AI product works, the fewer seats your customers need. The very thing that makes your product great is the thing that could kill your business model.
And this is what that looks like in cold, hard numbers. Imagine your amazing AI makes a customer's team 60% more efficient. They go from 20 people down to 8. That is a massive win for them. They're thrilled. But for you? If you're selling seats, your revenue just collapsed by 60%. You delivered incredible, game-changing value, and you got punished for it. This is the paradox we have to solve.
So here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll break down those three big shifts I mentioned: UX, pricing, and autonomy. Then we're going to get super practical with a real survival playbook, and we'll wrap up with a warning. Because believe me, the window to get this right is closing fast.
Okay, let's jump into the first major shift. This one's all about how we actually interact with software. We're moving way beyond the little chat windows that are everywhere right now and into something totally different, something invisible.
This whole evolution really happens in 3 stages. We started in phase 1, right? The chat-centric phase. That's where you're constantly prompting, copying, and pasting stuff. Right now, we're moving into phase 2, where the AI gets plugged directly into the data. But the real destination, the end game, is phase 3, ambient agents that just work. They're in the background doing things proactively, and you only hear from them when you need to.
And the piece of tech that makes this all possible is something called the Model Context Protocol, or MCP. And seriously, calling it the USB-C moment for AI is the perfect way to think about it. Remember before USB-C, you had a million different cables for a million different devices? It was a mess. MCP is doing the same thing for data. It's creating one single, secure standard for AI to talk to any app, any database, breaking down all those silos so it finally has the context it needs to be genuinely smart.
Okay, so this naturally brings us to the second shift, fixing that broken economic model. If selling seats is a dead end, what's next? How do you actually get paid for the massive value you're creating?
Well, guess what? The market is already figuring it out. Take a look at this. A massive 85% of enterprise AI deals have already moved away from seat-based pricing. This isn't some future prediction. The shift has already happened. If you are still clinging to that old model, you are way behind the curve.
And here is exactly why that shift is so crucial. Not all AI tasks are created equal, not even close. Firing off a simple email response might cost you a penny, but asking an AI to run a complex multi-step workflow, that could cost you $20 for one run. Usage-based pricing is really the only way to make sure the price a customer pays actually lines up with the cost and the value of what's being done.
So, in this crazy new world, where is your competitive advantage? Where's your moat? Well, think of it in 3 layers. The top layer, the UI, and the bottom layer, the raw AI models. Those are becoming commodities. Your only truly defensible ground is in the middle. It's your unique data, your specific business logic, and all the integrations you've painstakingly built over the years. That's your gold.
And building that moat, protecting that gold, takes 4 key steps. 1, you have to transform your company's knowledge into a format AI can actually understand. 2, you build specialized AI agents that can automate your unique workflows. 3, you build that MCP gateway we talked about to control and monetize access. And finally, you have to completely reimagine your user experience around these incredible new powers you've unlocked.
This brings us to the third and final paradigm shift, mastering the autonomy spectrum. You have to understand that AI isn't just one thing, it's a whole range of capabilities, and you have to be really smart about how you deploy them.
Think of it like this spectrum here. It goes all the way from level 1, which is like a simple copilot making suggestions, up to level 4, an agent that just acts on its own. Now, the big insight here is not to race to level 4 for everything. No way. The real strategy is using the right level for the right job. You want a copilot for high-stakes decisions, but you want full automation for tedious, routine tasks.
Now, when you start to roll these out, you've really got 2 main paths, internal or external.
Internal projects are all about saving money and letting your team learn in a safe, low-risk sandbox. External projects are about growing revenue and standing out from the competition. But, that comes with much higher risks and liability. You really need a plan for both.
And that plan has a golden rule. And you have to remember this. Your internal rollouts should always be 6 to 12 months ahead of your external ones. Always. You use those internal projects to work out the kinks, build your team's skills, and prove that it actually works before you ever let a paying customer touch it.
Okay, deal. We've just covered 3 absolutely massive shifts that are turning the industry upside down. So now, let's switch gears from theory to practice. What do you actually do? Here's your survival playbook.
The first and most important thing to get into your head is this quote. Forget about finding the one big, magical, silver bullet project that's going to solve all your problems. It doesn't exist. Real success with AI comes from lead bullets, a whole portfolio of smaller, targeted, practical initiatives that you run at the same time. So what does that portfolio look like in the real world? Well, something like this. You should be running pilots in parallel across a bunch of different areas. Maybe you automate your internal support tickets. At the same time, you launch an AI-powered search for your customers. You experiment with a new usage-based add-on. And all the while, you're building out that core MCP infrastructure. It's a multi-front attack.
And here's what that can look like on a timeline, see? You can get those first internal pilots up and running in the first 3 months. While they're going, your team is building the core infrastructure. Then, you scale up the internal things that worked before you even start building new stuff for customers. It's a smart, phased approach that builds momentum and lowers your risk.
All right, I have to end this with a real sense of urgency, because this isn't some academic exercise you can stick on next year's roadmap. The window to make these moves is closing, and the price you'll pay for doing nothing is, well, it's enormous.
The threat is very, very real. AI-native startups are popping up in your market right now. They don't have old code bases, they don't have outdated business models, and they don't have teams resistant to change. They are building from scratch with AI at the very center of everything they do, and they are moving at lightning speed.
And all those advantages you have right now, your years of deep domain expertise, all that proprietary data, they're temporary. They only work as a moat if you activate them with AI. If you just let them sit there, they're going to become worthless as faster, smarter competitors just leapfrog you.
Let's be really clear about the timeline. The critical window is the next 12 to 18 months. The moves you make through 2025 and 2026 will decide who the market leaders are for the next decade. The companies that build a lead in AI now will create advantages that compound so quickly it will be almost impossible for anyone else to catch up.
So if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. The risk of moving too slow is now infinitely greater than the risk of moving a little messy at first. You just have to start. You have to learn as you go. You have to build that momentum. So the only real question left is, what's your first lead bullet going to be?